once my loom is warped and ready to go, I can go ahead and start weaving. So there are a couple of ways that I can attach this yarn to my loom. I can just tape it, or I can tie it too. So I like to tie it, and if you're someone who is learning how to tie, this would be good practice. If you're someone who's still working on that skill, you can just tape it back here. So if I'm tying, I am going to put my yarn underneath this warp string and kind of pull so that there's a little bit left over here. I'm going to cross them, make a little X, and then whatever is on the bottom, whichever part of the string is on the bottom, I'm gonna wrap around and then put it through that hole that I created with the X. So X, this is on the bottom, wrap it up and around through the hole and pull. Okay, so I can tie, I can also tape it back here. Now when I am weaving, I wanna make sure that this string isn't too long. If it's too long, it just becomes overwhelming and I kind of get lost in the amount of string that I have or yarn that I have. So I am going to keep it or shorter than my arm's length together. If I'm opening my arms and pulling this across, I wanna make sure that it's definitely shorter than that, probably much shorter. So from here, I'm gonna start to weave, and I am going to go over, under, and I'm going to keep that pattern. And as I go through, I'm going to pull. So I'm under here, I'm gonna go over, under, over. Okay, so I'm here on my last warp string. I am over this string. Now it's time for me to go back through and create a second row. So I am going to lift this and go under. And that is going to create an end here. It's going to wrap it around, and it's also going to continue the pattern. So I started under this row, now I'm over, under, under. And again, continue that pattern. Okay, so I'm gonna pull through and use my fingers to push up because I want to keep this kind of tight. So another way that I can weave to make it just a little bit easier is use a weaving needle. So all I would have to do there is thread this through. This is the eye of my needle. I will take my yarn and thread it through, just like that. And then I will carefully tie this. So make my X, wrap it around and up through the hole, pull. This needle is going to allow me to pick up the speed just a bit, but I need to remember to continue with the same pattern. So I ended under. So this time I'm going to go over, which means this is under. So once I reach a point where I only have a little bit of yarn left, I can add more yarn. So I can unknot my needle. I can tie on another piece of yarn here, or I can even just kind of tuck this excess yarn underneath my warp strings if I want to, if I don't really have the tying skill down, but I would use this as an opportunity to really practice that skill of tying. So I can cross my two separate pieces of yarn, and I have decided to go with a new color here. I can continue with the old color or the original color if I want, or I can add a new color. It's up to you. So I'm gonna cross, and then my bottom comes around and up. Okay, something like that. Then I'm going to cross again and around and up through and pull. can trim my extra. Don't want to get too close to the knot though, because I will undo the knot if I'm trimming too close. Then I will thread my needle again and get started. So the other thing I want to mention is that if I'm pulling too tight, whenever I pull my yarn through, if I'm pulling really tight, my weaving is going to kind of come in at the middle. So that's okay if that's what I want, but be careful you're not pulling too tight with your yarn. So always remember to pull through. So when I'm done, I can knot this. I can tape it if I'm gonna leave it on the loom, but if I'm gonna take it off the loom, I do need to tie my ends. So that means my end, and it also means where I started. So you can leave this on the loom and maybe it becomes something else. So maybe it's not just a weaving, maybe this becomes something else for another art idea that you have. But you can leave it on the loom, but you can also take it off. So if you're taking it off, you can carefully pull your tabs down and pull the yarn up and over the tabs. Then I carefully remove my tape and tie these as well.